the process of returning back home is also connected to how you left when you're coming.
Oh.
Our culture is still very patriarchal. So for me as a man, it's very easy for me to come back and set up something in ancestral land. No problem. My sisters, not so much.
All of us wanted to be in the city.
Yes.
But now the older we grow, all of us want to leave
Yes.
the city.
Yes.
Why the village for you?
Most of my family members still live here.
Yeah.
You're not paying rent. You're not paying any mortgage. You're not paying any property taxes.
Yes.
Because we are far off from the city. So the cost of life is really low.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest challenges we have as returnees is also finding ways to work with the mindset that is at home. Superstition is still very strong. Or even when somebody gets injured at your site, next thing you know, oh, they're using this person to make money and things like that. That was an intentional accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
We cater to each market. 2-bedroom at 9.5 million. And if you're not able with the 9.5, now we have affordable houses that are below 5 million. Even for as low as 1 million, you can get a house with us.
All right.
And the one thing about it is that the quality of the houses still remains the same, whether you're here in Apollo or whether you're buying a house for 1 million.
Yeah. Very good morning to you and a warm welcome to today's episode of LNS Rebuilding Restoration Series. My name is Lynn Ngugi and I'm so happy to be here in Kisumu County, and I'm pretty sure some of you have seen my guest today because what he's doing in terms of talking to people who are coming back to Kenya, they call them returnees, the amount of knowledge he's giving us through his social media platform, that's YouTube, and how he's encouraging people to just, if you are meant to come back home, he's telling you come, and also he's telling you things that might not work for you if you come. So he'll be talking to us about his journey and why he's relocating from America and coming to settle permanently here in Kenya in such a beautiful village. I'm telling you guys, you walk into his home and you are like, you know that thing they say about it's a lifestyle? Sijui munidrope yo beat hapo ya scam cardinali lifestyle, like whatever, when they say it's lifestyle, this is lifestyle. He has such an amazing home, so beautiful, right at the center of this village. He has an amazing family. We just met his wife before we started filming and she was so excited and we were all so happy to meet her, and I honestly can't wait for you to be inspired through his story. And right after that, of course, we will be talking to our partners at Kings Developers Limited. If you don't know about Kings, they are a real estate company that gives you guys beautiful apartments, and we'll be talking to them also on how they are also making it easy for people to be able to purchase those apartments later on the show. And also, before I let my guest introduce himself, I want to say thank you to my amazing team that gets to travel with me. And I've said, now you know, you see me in front of this camera, it takes an entire village to put this content out there. So shukran sana to everyone at LNN that takes their time to make sure that we continue impacting the world one story at a time. We are at 1 million subscribers. Like, thank you so very much. It warms my heart to see the journey we've traveled together. I don't take it for granted. Thank you for making sure we got 1 million subscribers. Continue subscribing if you haven't, so that our work can be able to reach a lot of people and we can continue impacting the society one story at a time. And now, of course, without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce himself. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
How are you? Good morning.
I am doing well.
You're good.
Doing well. Mm-hmm. Welcome to Karateng.
Thank you
that
so
name
much.
might be foreign to many people, but yes, this is where we live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Karateng.
Yes, Karateng.
We are saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah, shukran sana. I'm really excited to get to have this conversation with you.
Yes.
But before we go any further, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I go by different names depending on how you know me. Professionally, I go by Edwin Achola. That's my formal work name. Now, on YouTube, most people know me as Wunodede. And for those who don't speak my native tongue, Wunodede simply means Baba Odede. Odede is my firstborn son.
Okay.
And so that's my popular name on YouTube.
Yes.
But most of my friends call me Edi Achola. Yes.
You have an amazing place here.
Thank you.
You know, I have to say you gave us such an amazing welcome. We've had breakfast, tumekula, tumeshiba, like, you know, you just really welcomed us in such a beautiful way. So allow me to say thank you.
You're welcome. You're
But
welcome.
when you look back and you are coming inside the gate,
Yes,
you are
yes.
coming to your own home. How
Yes.
does that make you feel?
I mean, it's hard to put in words the feeling of just being in a place where you belong. Because I've had the privilege to live in different parts of the world, but different parts of the US. But nothing beats the feeling of being in the middle of Karateng.
Yes.
Even though my story does not start here, and I'll probably walk you through that. When on your way, you know, coming to this place, you may have passed a home down there where my grandma lives. So that is where my parents were raised. And I remember some of my earliest memories was living in a mud house, grass thatch, because that was the only property my parents owned. So we had that, and we had some ancestral land somewhere up here, but you know how things happen.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had a grass thatched house, mud house, but that is where we were raised. However, I was born in southern Nyanza, a place called Oyugis.
Yeah.
So that's where I went to school, primary school, Agorosare Primary, high school, then I went to Rongo, Kanyawanga Secondary.
Yeah.
And so this place often has a very strong feeling of belonging. While we were raised in Oyugis, we always came back, especially in December. And so anytime I come back from abroad, just passing through my neighborhood, seeing the people I know, familiar, their smiles and all that, there's nothing that beats it anywhere in the world. Yes.
This is home.
Oh,
This
this is home.
What's the importance of this soil
Yes.
to us as Africans?
Well, you know, one of the things I came to realize after having lived abroad for a while, that when we live, physically we are gone. But the one thing they never tell you is that your soul remains here. So initially, when most of us leave, we are so focused on diaspora and all the lights and the amazing things and all that. And at that point, many of us are still struggling financially. Some of us don't have papers. And so even the ability to come back is still limited. So a few years down the road, things begin to change. When you settle down, you've got papers, and you're earning just a little bit more, you can now afford to come back home. And then you land, and some of the most basic things start hitting home, bringing memories. Let me give you an example. Like yesterday, I was sitting out there around lunchtime. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's lunchtime. I need to go to the kitchen, fix something. And then my sister walks out with a jar of warm water. Babodidi, now I'm kono. And just sitting there, washing my hands, it just felt really good.
Yes.
Really good. And then in the afternoon, I take off, I go to local kinyozi, which for the similar service, I would spend maybe about $40 to $50, just a haircut. And as you can tell, I have maybe about 2 strands of hair left. So about $40.
Yes.
Takes about 15 minutes and you're out. But here in Kisumu, that is almost like a 2-hour trip. And the treatment you get, the vibe, I mean, it's indescribable.
The connection.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just indescribable.
Yeah.
So when we begin traveling back and forth, every time you come back, when it's time to go back to diaspora, there's that feeling that this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Every single time. There's no time I've boarded a plane from JKA, heading off, and I'm like excited, looking forward to going back. It's never that. And the same also with my kids. My kids absolutely love the village. And so that just keeps reminding me of what do I want to do with my life for the next couple of years? How do I want to spend the next couple of years that I have?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
And you know, I know people are looking at you, and because this is not a cheap place we are in, I'm pretty sure this has costed you some coins, right?
In some ways, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how does a young boy who grew up in a muddy house, when did this breakthrough happen for you that enabled you to come and settle comfortably in the village with all the basic things? If you don't mind, could you give us a bit of background about yourself to you getting to this place?
Right.
And also, what does it mean to be in this place?
Right. So like I told you earlier, my story actually begins in a mud house here. But my parents used to work in Oyugis, and they are both retired teachers. So my entire life, we always lived in a rental house. And as a kid, that absolutely meant nothing. And my parents raised about 7 biological kids, but 8 of us.
Yes.
And as you know, the average Kenyan household, you live in a 2-bedroom house for the parents, and then you have 1 bedroom with all of you in there. Yeah.
Yes.
But life was fantastic. So one of the things that I think set me on a path to where I am today is the fact that I was a child of teachers. So what that helped me was that there were so many privileges that now that I'm looking back, I had that many of my friends didn't, because I was a child of a teacher. I went to school in the same school as my mom. So she was my first teacher in grade 1 at Agoroside Primary.
Yes.
Yes. And she taught almost every single one of us. And I remember one particular time, I took off with my friends. We went off to a hill behind the school, went swimming and doing all kinds of things. And we had no idea there was exams going on. Yeah. So we played, and then I came back very late. And you know, an African child in a teacher's house,
Yes.
you come back home, of course, word has already reached her that I missed exams. So you come back home, and they introduce you to the glory of the steak. Yes. Unapewa kiboko, you take your uji, you shower, and then you do your exam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that very well. I did exam at home. And you know, after all of that, you don't even know what exam they're supposed to do. So my mom gives me a paper, I open it up, and I think it was house bed or something like that, if anyone knows what that means. And I did the exam, and that was the end of it. Only to realize my friends with whom we went to play missed that exam. And so there were things like that that were on my path, just being the child of a teacher, that I know many of my friends didn't have. So that was one of my biggest saving grace. And then right after high school, I was privileged to get, at the time they called it JAB, I think, Joint Admissions Board.
Yes.
I was admitted at Maseno University. And I absolutely hated that. I never wanted Maseno, because Maseno is literally in my village.
And you needed to go out.
Yes,
Kenyatta
yes.
University, Nairobi
You're
University.
actually, KU was my top
Yeah.
school. Yeah. And for me, it was more about the idea of just getting into a bus overnight and going to Nairobi. So when I got admitted to Maseno, I was like, this is terrible. But it turned out to be one of the biggest blessings ever. In fact, looking back over the years that I've been in school, the Maseno years were literally the best years I had in school. We had so much fun, so much fun. And so the degree I got in Maseno set me up to be able to qualify for what I got for master's. Because my brother, who lives in Texas, helped me apply for a master's program. So when I got admissions, thankfully, I was able to get a visa like many people do. It wasn't a struggle. So then I moved to Western Pennsylvania in a place called Indiana, relatively small town, but that place is cold. And you can imagine the weather we have here in Karateng. So you move from this right into winter in Western Pennsylvania.
Kinangop.
That was something else. I'm leaving the heat of Kisumu, because after Maseno, I taught in Kisumu for a little while.
Yes.
And then landed in Dallas and straight to Western Pennsylvania in the middle of winter. You know, you see, for the first time, I'm looking at snow, and that thing was fantastic from inside of the airport. So wait until I get outside. It was cold. It was cold. And so I knew right then that even though that was a place that I could get what I needed, but I needed to move. So I spent a few years there, finished my master's program. And right before I finished, it's one of the things I talk about in my channel.
Yes.
Is that before you complete whatever you're doing, think about the transition way in advance. You don't want to wait till you're done. And that's when you're figuring out, what do I need to do with myself? And so right before I finished, I applied for a PhD program in Virginia that gave me full scholarship. So then I moved from Western Pennsylvania to Virginia. And then I worked through my doctoral program. And then I did the same thing. Towards the tail end of my doctoral program too, I started looking for jobs. But this time around, I was looking for any place that has weather close to Kisumu. Yes. And that's how I landed in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually interesting because when I was interviewing for my job, it was in February, which is right again in the middle of winter. Really cold. I've got my boots on, my winter gear. And then I land in Long Beach, California. And I see people in shorts and sandals, and I see grass. I was so wowed. I was like, and that's how I never went back east.
You never left.
Yeah, that's how I never went back east. So the last maybe 11 years or so, I've lived and worked in California. So that's how I made my way through. But along the way, I would say one of the most distinguishing features is the people that God has put in my path. And the majority of the people that have been on my path have often been women, just complete strangers. And of course, my family has just been beyond amazing. Because everything we've been able to do at home, all the little projects, we've done through our family. And again, as I talk to people, I come to learn that usually when people work through families, they see what we will call here dust. Yes. I've been exceptionally lucky with our family all these years. Yeah.
You've been blessed.
Yes. So even though, like I say, all of us face challenges. In fact, I remember when I was doing my master's, at some point I was actually homeless. But you know, there's some things you don't even tell people at home.
Yeah.
You manage it. But it just took a complete stranger. In fact, this guy was from Ghana that ended up sorting me at that time. So years later, when I was done, I told my brother, hey, did you know that I was homeless? Yeah.
Oh.
So it's the people that God has put in my pathway all along that have made the difference.
All right.
Yeah.
Walk me through life in the US, right?
Yeah.
And at what point do you say, of course, this place has a lot of advantages, a lot of benefits, but I still want to go home. And not only do you want to go home, you are not looking into going to Nairobi, Runda, Karen. You are saying, I'm going to go and put up my family in my village.
Yeah. So like I said, I came as a student on an F1 visa. And of course, each visa has its own benefits and difficulties. So one unique thing about the student visa is that it allows you to work, but with strings attached to it. So one, you can only work on campus. You can only work about 20 hours. And so your capacity to make a living beyond being a student is very limited. And so for the most part, as I was going through school, it was mostly survival. And then a few years here and there, we would take off because there was a few of us Kenyans and other Africans. We would take off and then drive around and see things around. And so the first years was really mixed with basic survival experiences, but also getting to see the US. So I did all of that. And then after a few years, after finishing my PhD, then I met my wife, who, interestingly enough, completely ignored me for an entire year.
No way.
A whole year. Yes. You know, yeah. So, because I saw her face, because her uncle is a friend of mine.
Yes.
So I saw her face and I was like, hey, who is this person? Can you tell me about it? And it just blew me off. So then, of course, I started stalking her. She ignored me for a whole year.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, hey, what is it that I'm doing that is different here?
Yeah.
And then, so years later on, she explained that at the time, my younger sister had just gotten married. And so for me, I'd taken a picture of her in her wedding gown, put on my Facebook profile. And I had my nephew on the other. So I'm holding my nephew on one and my sister's picture on another.
So she thinks that's
wifey. I think
wifey.
she puts two and two together.
That's your wife and your son.
Yeah, so she's like, this Mubaba, what's wrong with this Mubaba?
Tabia.
Yeah, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
I had no idea that my online profile is what was really
limiting you.
Yes. So, she refused to talk to me completely for a whole year.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I found out that she goes to SDA church. And maybe this may not be universal, but a few people born in SDA, there are certain magic buttons that can allow you to talk to them. So when I discovered she goes to the SDA church, one evening, it was a Friday evening. So I sent her a message and just said, happy Sabbath, sister.
Wait, what?
I just said, happy Sabbath, sister.
The sister?
Yes, happy Sabbath. And you know, and then she sees that happy Sabbath, like, oh, then she started paying attention. Like, maybe this one is one of us.
Magic button.
Yeah, one of the magic buttons.
Guys, learn.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Happy Sabbath. And she's like, for the first time, she responded.
Yes.
And then like, okay, I think we're making progress here. And then, of course, we started talking, and I'm like, you know, I'm just sitting at home, reading my Bible, getting ready to teach lessons. At the time, I wasn't even going to church. But I was like, you know, I'm getting ready to go teach Sabbath school. And she opened up. So then we spoke, and then that was it. And then the question of whether I'm married still lingered.
Yes.
So then the next day, she wakes up and wishes me Happy Father's Day. And hey, happy Father's Day. It wasn't even Father's Day. It was some random time. It wasn't even Father's Day. So then I told her, I don't know, well, yeah, I'm not a father yet, but it's one of those things I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
And then she was like, okay, so he's not a Mubaba. So then after that, I think we were good.
You are good.
Yeah.
So you explained.
Oh yeah, so I was like, hey, by the way, so what you're looking at,
Yes.
so this is my sister, this is my nephew, and this is my family. Yes.
Brother.
Yes. I had no idea my online profile
Yes.
is what was really blocking my nyota at the time.
You are nyota?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So Karusha Mistari.
So of course, Mistari. And then, next thing we know it, I mean, life happened. At the time she lived in a different state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we connected, and I think we only dated for probably 6 months, and we were engaged.
Wow.
Yeah. Because when I met her, I knew this is the one.
And when you know, you know.
Oh yeah. I knew.
Yes.
Because at the time, one thing I told myself is that I'd spent so many years in school, and I just needed maybe 2 to 3 years where I can just be me. Because for the first time, I could even live in an apartment I could call my own.
Yes.
Because the entire time I was always sharing rooms with many people, which was not a problem. But of course, you meet very new people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I finished my PhD program, I knew at that point I needed maybe 1 or 2 years because for the first time I had my own apartment. So after 2 years or so, that's when we met. And then next thing we know, I mean, she, as you've seen her,
Yes.
she is such a vibe.
She's amazing.
I knew this was it. Unfortunately for me, again, the second time, after we vibed quite a bit, it was the December that I was coming home for the first time. Because I was gone for 10 years before I came back home. And part of it, of course, is paperwork.
Yes.
Because the first day I went to the US Embassy, that experience, mine was not bad, but having seen what people were going through, I knew in my mind, I never wanted to come back there asking for permission to go back to the US. So I knew whatever it is, I was going to need to do what I need to do to change my status.
Yes.
So it took me almost 10 years before I came back home for the first time. So this is the time I've met her, and I'm coming home for the first time. And it's only been about 5 months or so. So then I land home, and the other funny thing with home is once I come home, you and my siblings simply shut down their lives. They all come to the village, as you've seen. Yes. My sisters, my nephew, everybody's the village. I hardly pick my phone.
Yeah.
And so she's wondering, this guy goes to the village, and he's barely talking to me, and we're just starting.
Ghost.
Yes, so she's also worried. And of course, she knows I'm a village person. For her, she was born in Nairobi. So she's a complete city girl, but she loves the village. So she told me later on, she was worried that maybe I've come back home and met
to your village
another
wife.
Kenyan, yes, or maybe a little Kenyan one. But I was like, just hang in there. So when we came back, we went to Hawaii, and I popped the question, and we got engaged within 6 months. And then the next 8 months, we had our wedding scheduled, and we got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was the day?
Well, it's hard to describe because mixed feelings.
Yes.
She was really sick. People didn't know. Because part of it is she actually lived in Idaho at the time. I lived in California, and our wedding was in Seattle. So it's her family that was running the show to get us putting together the wedding. So the work all the way to the wedding was really, because for me, that was the first time I was involved as a person who is going to marry. So initially, when you start, you're thinking you have control over everything.
You have it figured out.
Yes, everything is all lined up. Oh, it took me maybe about a month to figure out that my job was just to listen and follow through. So the wedding planning, the family and friends were amazing. But on that very day, she was really ill. I think they did some makeup that she reacted with. And so she was really itchy inside. People didn't know, but it was a long day for her. And as you may have known, weddings are fun when you're sitting in the crowd. Yes. When you're showing up and you're getting entertained and you eat and you walk away. But sitting in there, it was tough. So the amazing thing was that I knew from then on, she was mine. And so we did our wedding, and I took my wife, we went to California. And now almost 19 years later, here we are, circling back all the way to the village.
Hey,
yes.
You've been married how long?
Now it's almost 9 years.
9 years?
Yeah, 9 years.
And you've been away collectively for 19, almost 20? Almost 20 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So marriage life, they say, is good when you guys are dating until you get to live in the same house together. How was it moving in the same house?
But for me, the thing is, I don't know dating life apart from because we've been married longer than we dated.
Longer than you dated.
Remember I told you we were engaged for 6 months.
Yeah.
So everything I know with her is virtually us married. Yes. And I think I'm one of those people that I consider myself having hit the lottery, basically, when it comes to life. Because as they always say, whoever you choose as your life partner will either make or break you.
Period.
Yes. When we started literally...
Repeat that again, because
Yes.
I've said it often here.
Whoever you select,
Yes.
because this is one of the few relatives you get to select.
Yes.
Many of the others we are given.
Yes.
Like your uncles, your aunties, those are inherited. But there are few relatives you get to select. One of those is your life partner.
Yes.
Yes. And for me, I know I hit a jackpot.
Yeah.
And so when we started, we absolutely owned almost nothing. We had nothing. And then I had a wife who was very clear-eyed as to what she needed. Like I remember even before we built, one time we came back home with our firstborn. And at the time we still lived in our parents' property in my brother's little Simba. So that December we come, it was really rainy. We come home, I have a little baby, my wife is here, my brother is here, and we're all sharing this little space. So one time I come back and find my son there, or Dede. I think it was raining and the roof was leaking. And he was sticking his tongue out.
Oh my God.
Because for me, this is fun.
Yes.
This is fun. I mean, my wife looked at it and was like, I don't think we're coming back to this. Because sometimes as men, we can be comfortable.
Yes.
Because when we come home, we're just having fun. She was like, no, I think we can do better. We are not coming back to this. So then we went back, and from then we were like, okay, how do we make this happen? So we started planning, and it's taken years of planning and years of hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of it is hard work. The background part, which nobody sees, is hard work.
Wow.
Then the second component of it, my younger brother who passed on in 2022, tragically, yes.
Sorry.
At the time he was home. And then my mom was here, my family was here. So when we started these little projects, they were the ones running the show on the ground. It got to the point where they were using even their own funds to get us moving. Something that I've never heard. Because I talk to people from every part of the world about building at home. And anytime family is in the middle of it,
chaos.
It's always problems. So my siblings, my parents have just been amazing. See, like my sisters who came in here, anything I need in Nairobi, anything I need around, they're the ones running around. Sometimes they are the ones who are stopping you like, oh, no.
Yes.
I think this is too expensive, or just give us time, let's figure out another option. So they've really made this process of setting things up exceptionally easy. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful.
Yes.
You have a loving family.
Yes, I'm really privileged. Privileged. Yes.
You have a beautiful family.
Yes.
So 20 years away,
yes.
and you decide, I'm coming back to Kenya.
Yes.
I'm relocating permanently to Kenya.
Yes.
Walk me through that.
So what that looks like, we've had multiple conversations about what it means to come back home. For us, coming back home is not an event. It is a process that is going to take us several years.
Yes.
And so what we're doing is that we've broken it down into multiple steps. So again, step number one is, can we figure out a space where we can live? Especially a place where when our kids come, some of the basic comforts that they have over there are still present. And kids don't ask for much. As long as you have reliable power, which for us, as you've seen, we use mostly solar.
Yes.
So KPLC is more like a backup. Just reliable power, you have running water, indoor plumbing, Wi-Fi. So when they come here, it's not radically different than what they used to. So it was more about, first of all, let's start with getting a place where we can live. And it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. Basic comforts and we're good. And then, we've got young kids who still have to go to school. And then we've got work as well. So what we're doing is that every year that passes, we are committing to doing at least one thing that moves us closer to that eventual goal of moving back home. I've seen so many people that just sell off everything, resign and come back home and make it survive really well. But there are also cases that things have really fallen apart. I have personal friends who, especially around elections, who decided they are coming back home because so-and-so is going to win. They sell off things, they resign, then you come back home, and then the so-and-so does not win. Or if they win, things really change. Because unfortunately for us who live in diaspora, we meet Kenyan politicians up there, and it's very easy to connect with them. Wait until you show up here. It's a whole different scenario.
Huko mjuangi ni chameleons.
Because when they come over there, they come sit in your house, you cook, you do all of that.
You cook for them?
Yeah, of course. We just sit like this and welcome them. We barbecue and hang out.
You should start charging for that food.
Now that
Yes.
now I think we should also
Please.
put restrictions. Yeah,
Please.
because when you come back here, because they give you their number.
Yes.
Try calling that number.
They won't pick.
Oh, it's a whole different world.
And they ate in your house.
Of course, you're sitting with them in your house, you're cooking, and they know your family and all that. Wait till you come back here. It's a whole different scenario.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, for us, it's been a process that we are at the beginning stage of it. So we are not fully transitioned. We've just started with at least getting a place that we call a home. And then for the next couple of years, we're doing homework, figuring out if we ever move while our kids are still in school,
Yes.
what would that look like? Issues of healthcare, how will we navigate that? And then thankfully with my kind of work, I still have quite a bit of flexibility. So I could be home longer than my wife. So for her, she's still tired, but she's exploring options that will allow her to spend more time. So eventually, however long it takes, whether it's next year or 10 years from now, we see ourselves doing something more like the majority of our lives should be spent in Kenya. But I'm sure we'll still be going back and forth.
Yeah.
Because again, we've got American kids. And some of the privileges that come with the US, we still want them to benefit from that, while also enjoying everything that Kenya gives. So for me, returning does not simply mean abandoning my entire life in the US and coming. Some people do that, and that's okay. But for us, we are going to progressively spend more and more time in Kenya.
Good.
And part of what really challenged me, again, as I told you 2 years ago, I lost both my sister and my brother within 6 weeks, tragically. And that was quite a life-defining moment in terms of redefining what I value. For example, the time I spend with the people that care about me is really precious. Most of my family is still here. And so every time I come home and I spend time with my folks, it's nothing I can compare with anything else. And so when I lost my siblings, it just redefined my commitment to wanting to spend more time with my folks. Because, again, parents are getting older, grandparents are dying, friends and all that. So any opportunity to spend more time with friends and family is something we value. So as a process, like I said, we start with finding a place, and then connections, doing homework, and then spending more and more time in Kenya. Like this is one of the first times I've been home for probably 2 months straight with the babies. And they absolutely love it. So figuring out what that looks like, because for many of us who live in diaspora, we often come home during holidays. And Kenya during Christmas is not the same as coming to Kenya in April. Yes. And so for people out there thinking about returning, you don't want to be too focused on the holiday vibe, because that is not what everyday Kenya looks like. And so like this time around, what we've done, we just came much earlier in the summer. When there's no festivities, just regular life going on. So we can start looking at what does Kenya look like outside the holidays? And can we begin connecting with whatever Kenya looks like outside of December and things like that?
All right.
Yes.
There's a trend.
Yes.
A lot of people are now embracing the village life,
Yes.
And I was saying it's funny.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, all of us wanted to be in the city.
Yes.
But now the older we grow, all of us want to leave
Yes.
the city.
Yes.
Why the village for you?
So a couple of reasons. Number one, of course, most of my family members still live here. But besides the family connection, the village really has a very different climate compared to the city. Because I live in Long Beach, right outside Los Angeles, very big metropolis. And just like in Nairobi, the vibe in the city is very different. But you come here in the village, life is so low key. I walk in, and especially in the evenings, I love doing this. I get out of my home, just walk around, run into people around, we talk, we vibe. I eat my indie, do all that. Like just the connection and things you do between now and then. I don't even know how I could even be possibly depressed. Unlike Maju, for example, where many of us, maybe not all of us, you end up into this specific routine between work, home, and a few social events. So you're always within your own circle in your own home. Here, there's no possibility I would be alone at any point. I wake up and the first person I meet is my mother. I get out, my cousins are here. There's all of that.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the issue of food. You don't know what that means until you compare the skuma right here and the skuma in Nairobi. Like 80% of what we eat comes straight from our shamba. 80% of what we eat. Yeah. And so you have good food, very low-key life, and it is really inexpensive. Especially those of us who've been able to at least build something. You're not paying rent. You're not paying any mortgage. You're not paying any property taxes.
Yes.
Because we are far off from the city. So the cost of life is really low. And then, of course, with things like power, we use solar. Even though we have KPSC, we use solar. So I barely pay any electricity bills. Water, even though we have city water, we also have our own well right here. Again, barely any water bills. In fact, the main expense I would say in terms of regular bills is internet and maybe the folks that help us here.
Yeah.
So the cost of living is very low. And then in addition to that, the community support. Nothing happens around here without people showing up. If anything ever happens, people will show up. And that community support that you get really makes a difference. Because in Los Angeles, where we live, there are cases, even right now, you hear cases of a Kenyan who was found dead like 3 weeks into their own apartment. Nobody knew that person was there. Something that would never happen here in the village. Would never happen. Something happens and everybody comes out. And then the other piece that is also really, really different is the safety part. Because many cities also come with their own security challenges. Here in the village, yes, there are things here and there, but it's nothing compared to what you see in the city. For example, where we live in the US, a lot of gun violence everywhere. And to some point where you send your kid to school, there's no guarantee they'll be back. Something I never have to worry about here in the village.
In Kenya.
Yes. So I'm not saying that the village has everything, because each place has its own benefits and drawbacks. But when you put it all together, I would still pick the village any day. And that is especially true for those of us who were raised in villages. Because this is not anything strange. Yeah.
Wow.
So when all things put together, I would still pick the village over the city.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about, the construction,
Yes.
you setting up this
Yes.
beautiful home.
Yes.
And as I was going through your YouTube channel,
Yes.
guys, please subscribe to his channel. It's on your screen. As I was going through your YouTube channel, a lot of questions, I could see a lot of comments
Yes.
and people asking, how are you able to do this when you were away? And
Wow.
because a lot of people face a lot of challenges,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So how are you able to build this
Yes.
while you are away?
So a couple of things. First is we made a lot of mistakes. That is what people may not see. Because you see the final product and you don't see the years of work that got there. We made lots of mistakes. I've switched so many contractors here and there, things that have to be rebuilt and all that. So we did that. But like I said, the first thing that I know I have that many people don't have is family. There are people that I could put money in their hands and do exactly what needs to be done. So that was a big difference.
Yes.
But before then, my wife especially, she's really good at doing homework. A lot of homework. That we did a lot of homework before the construction part. And then we were not in a hurry. Because with many of these things, oftentimes most of us don't have the cash to do everything.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, let's just start, push the foundation, and then wherever we stop, we stop. When we get money, pick it up from there. One of the challenges we face, especially as couples, is that sometimes you can be on very different pages
Yes.
as to what you people want.
Yes.
But she's a really good communicator. She would sit me down and say, here's exactly what I want. And then I've found X, Y, Z. Now, can you look for this and that? And so that makes my work really easy.
Easy.
Yes. And then even in terms of putting finances together, we have never had issues with that. So I think most of my successes have been part family, and a lot of it is luck. Because the young woman that I live with right now, I don't think there's any way we would have met were it not for all of these circumstances. So that helps. And then along the way, even as we made mistakes, we also found people that are really good at what they do. Especially now towards the tail end when we're doing finishes and all that, I've met quite a few folks that are exceptional. Yeah, that you assign them work, zero supervision, and they will deliver exactly what you need.
Yes.
But that is after multiple years of mistakes. Yeah.
How many years did it take to put this together?
I would say now we're looking at almost 5 years, 4 to 5 years.
Pole
And
too.
there's still stuff to be done. And like I told you, we just broke it down in different stages. Just prepare the land, leave it there. You do foundation, take your time.
Leave it there.
You leave it there. Bit by bit, even right now, it's not completely done. There's still things to be done here and there. But years of pole with, the other thing that has been helpful, referrals through friends. Because when people talk, you realize you're all doing similar things, similar experiences, and some people have figured it out.
Yes.
And that's actually one of the things I love doing right now. When people ask me, who did you use for that? What's your plug? So unfortunately, sometimes it gets tricky because I may have somebody who did a good job, but I may not want to refer that person based on something else.
Yes.
Like, for example, the person who did my woodworks, his workmanship was okay. So I would work with him. However, I think the last day they were leaving, I was not here. We had one avocado tree over there. They woke up one morning and cleaned out the entire tree.
Whoa, all the avocados.
Yes, the entire tree. So again, it's not a big deal, and this was not about avocado.
But
it'll be
the
more
act,
about
character.
Yeah. If you need something, just ask.
Ask.
Yeah. So then there are people who are good at what they do, but on site they may have an issue here and there. So then sometimes I'm caught up in a difficult position because somebody would ask, "Who did your kitchen?" And the kitchen guy may have done a good job, but there's other things around that person that may be challenging.
People skills.
Yeah, so I'm worried about, should I refer this person or not?
Yeah.
But along the way, I've met quite a few people who are really good that I'm happy to share contacts. Because again, these are people who have helped me, and I'm more than happy to also promote them.
Okay.
Yeah, when people ask. Yeah.
Will you give me some? I pinned that on the comment section.
At a cost of about maybe $5 per name.
Come on,
Yeah,
easy
so-
money.
Okay.
From your end or my end?
From with your office. I mean, the size of your office.
Which size?
The size of your office.
Where?
I'm happy to share.
That's easy money.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
what you're telling us, you don't
Yeah.
have to have it all figured out at once. You
Not-
can build
yeah.
in blocks.
Yeah, not if you're an average person. I mean, I've seen people with money. Kenya people have money here in Kenya.
Yeah.
I've seen things that I'm like, eh. And even Maju, there are people with money who can do it differently. But if you're an average person, the scary part is thinking about the end product. Because sometimes I've got folks who ask me, how much did you spend on this? And then I give a figure. And then they're like, then what's the point? So I don't think it's necessary to think about because whatever it is they tell you it's going to cost at the end,
Yeah.
I guarantee you it will not be that. Because like, for example, when we started building this house, cement was about 500 shillings. Right now, cement is like, I think it's like
800.
900, depending on where you live. So much changes. And so often just start and then figure it out as you go in terms of budgeting.
Yeah.
But in terms of planning, I'm not sure it's a good idea to just roll with it and figure it out. Because sometimes you reach towards the tail end and you realize there are things you could have done differently at the beginning that would have saved you a whole lot.
A whole lot.
Yes. So the planning part, don't just jump
Into it.
ahead. Yes. But in terms of finances and get it done, just start. Yeah.
Start.
Yeah. Just
Then you'll figure it
just
out.
get it going. It'll be done. Yeah.
But let's talk about returnees,
Yes,
right? Because
yes.
I know one of the things I loved about the video you did,
Yeah,
you gave people tips.
Yes.
And you told them, if you want to return home,
Yes.
please try and ask yourself these
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If someone is watching and they are contemplating and they are like, should I return home?
Yes.
Should I leave the US? Should I leave Australia?
Yes, yes.
Considering also there's a lot of pressure for
Yeah.
immigrants to
Yes.
go back to their country.
Yes.
I keep wondering, which countries are you telling them to go? If anything, you built your country off our ancestors'
Yes,
sweater,
yes.
but not my place.
Yeah,
But to people who are watching and they are like, I want to come home, I
Yes.
want to come and settle.
Yeah.
What are these 4 things or tips that you would give them?
So a couple of things. Home is not for everybody. Let's just be honest about that. Returning is just not for everybody. So you want to first of all decide, is this really for you? That's the first thing. And then the second thing, and part of that conversation about the first step is, what are you coming back to? I've got friends whose entire lives, including their families, are out there. And so when they come back, they spend maybe a week or two. It's different. When they stay longer, they're even more isolated. So you want to go through a certain list that I provided in my channel for those who go check it out.
Yeah.
Just go through the checklist. Is home really for you, first of all? And if it is, then you want to talk about the issue of when and how. Because when may mean you decide to come back home after retirement. A lot of people do that. But what I've learned from my experience and those of people around me is that coming towards retirement can be really challenging. Because towards retirement, you are not in the same shape as you are when you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then your finances likely will change after you retire, because then you start living on pension. And then, of course, at retirement, you probably have medical issues and all that, and you probably don't have a whole lot of connections. So what I would say is that when you're thinking about the when, even if you don't think of eventually coming back home, do things that set you up for coming home, like having a place of your own. Because that will determine the when part. Because it's very expensive to come live in a B&B for an extended period of time. A lot of us come and we rent cars, we live in rented B&Bs and things like that. That's fine for holiday. But if you're going to spend like 2-3 months, 6 months, it becomes really expensive. So the when will depend on have you set up a place to live? And then the how part. There is no one way to do it. Like in our case, we are not just uprooting ourselves and coming back to karting. We are lining up a few years where each year we are doing something that brings us close. So then you decide on how your how is going to look like. Ours simply means multiple years where we are putting things in place. So I think as a future returnee, that's one thing you want to think about. The other issue that I think we forget about is the process of returning back home is also connected to how you left when you're coming.
Oh,
yes.
That's strong.
Those two are linked. But when you're leaving, you often don't see that.
Yes.
For example, some of us live with the kids at home, whether from marriage or all kinds of things. That means something. And if you had no connection with them and you're coming back and you want to connect, how is that going to look like?
It won't work.
Yes.
And even if it works, it's a lot of work.
Exactly. Some people actually left spouses here. And if you're coming back, what does that mean? Because I've seen right now there's a friend who passed on who left a wife, moved to diaspora and married somebody else, and now he's supposed to be brought back. Then you have these scenarios that have really not been figured out. So whatever happens when they were leaving, and now is coming back to impact their lives when they're coming back. And so for young people, especially those who are just starting, you want to keep in mind that how you live really may impact how you get back. Yes. Yeah.
Powerful.
Yes.
Make things right.
Yes. Yeah. Whatever business you left as you're traveling may really influence how you come back. And this is especially different for women. And there's a video I did on women particularly.
Yes.
Yeah. Because again, our culture is still very patriarchal. So for me as a man, it's very easy for me to come back and set up something in ancestral land. No problem. My sisters, not so much. So while we know the Kenyan law allows women to inherit land,
does the people around me allow? Does the culture allow?
Yes, the reality is very different. In fact, in my community, there's a term called migogo. It's probably not a very endearing term, but it simply means a young woman who is not married. Yeah. So if you're a returnee that is not married or who is divorced, your pathway can be very different. Because chances are you may not be allowed access to ancestral land.
Yes.
Or even if they give it to you, it'll be difficult for you to build something on it. And so for women particularly, I always advise that you probably want to purchase land on your own, and sometimes maybe not necessarily close to your village, especially if you're a woman from the western part. Because then the lands you buy yourself on your own has a lot less strengths than the ancestral land. And what makes it even worse is that the cultural strengths they put together also percolates to the folks living at home. For example, there are many women that I talk to that are currently building right now who say that the male contractors would not even listen to them. In fact, one of my friends, she was doing a very small project. She invites a tile guy, and the guy says, "Oh, can I talk to your husband?"
Wow.
Yeah. And she's like, "I'm the one who brought you here."
I'm the husband.
Yeah. So what husband are we talking about here?
Well, yes, what do you want?
Yeah. So for women, unfortunately, still, their pathway to returning can be different. But the amazing thing is, right now, I know of almost 6 women in my life who have come back, built amazing homes. No husbands or whatever the case, they don't have like permanent partners who are made, but they're making it work. Yes. So the pathway for women can be slightly different, and you want to be aware of that. Because if you're naive to that, you'll come right here and your chances of success may be really limited if you don't pay attention to some of those cultural nuances that affect women specifically.
Ama ujipate umejenga, then wamekwambia bomoa.
Oh, forget about bomoa. Let me give you a second case. Ancestral lands too, where you come back and you talk and verbally. People say, it's okay, this is your land, you can do whatever it is. I've got a friend right now, built a really big house, very nice house. As soon as he was done, then they're like, "Oh, and who told you to build there?" When he was completely done, is when they're like, no, nobody told you that. And so he's actually had to abandon his house.
Wow.
Yeah. Because now then people are like, "Oh, we didn't say that." Now then you start. And so the other issue that I also talk about is the issue of land. Especially if you're going to use that ancestral land, you want to make sure that your claim to ownership is legally defensible. Because oftentimes, a lot of ancestral land, some of them are on our grandparents' names. And so there are sort of verbal agreements as to who should do what where. And then you start your project, as soon as it goes up, then things change. So ancestral land can be tricky for both men and women, but it's worse for women.
For women.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I know you've done an extensive video on that. And guys, please feel free to check it on his channel.
Yes.
But one other thing that you speak about, and I'm happy you pointed it out.
Yeah.
There's always, I don't know if it's a misconception or that's how you guys behave. When you talk from Waju, you build such a nice house. Then now, because yours is standing out in the village, munaanza kukua nyinyi your deputy politicians around. People feel like you guys are walking on them. Does that happen?
Well, I think there's 2 ways to look at it.
Yes.
There's a part of it that is more of a perception, but then there's also a part of it that is real. Now, and this is actually even true for folks who come from Nairobi, where you come back and let's say you're just driving past somebody. And then there's dust following you. You're driving on a dirt road. And then like, "Oh, this so-and-so son, see how he's really disrespectful."
How he's anatubeba aje.
See, yes. You've absolutely not done anything.
It's just the road was dusty.
You're just driving, you're just doing your thing. But so there's a big part of it is just perception. That sometimes when there are differences in class or economics, there's a chance somebody could either misinterpret what you're doing or just look at things differently. And that can be difficult to deal with because people believe whatever they believe and there's nothing you can say. There's also part of it that is also inherited, especially let's say your grandfather was quote unquote disrespectful. And then his sins are still brought down to me out here. And that's one of the challenges with doing projects in the same community you've lived in. Whatever sins your grandparents committed may percolate down to you. So like I tell my neighbor, "You barely know me, but my grandfather who said X, Y, Z, that still becomes my burden." So there's that issue of perception, but then there's also the reality part of it, where returnees also don't realize how much they have changed. Because when you go away for like 10, 20 years, you're never the same person in so many ways.
That comes back.
And we often don't know what that looks like. And so if you're really not aware of how you're different, you may unintentionally do certain things that could be disrespectful. For example, you see me in shorts. I'm always in shorts all the time. I've actually caught myself at a funeral in shorts. Now, for me, as a returnee, that may not mean much, but it only struck me when I'm looking around and then I notice everybody's in long pants. But somebody looking at that would say, "See these Maju guys, they don't even
respect."
Yes. Or even in church, I could find myself in shorts in church. not really thinking much about it. And so I think some of us are just not attuned to how different we have changed and to address that. So part of the challenge we have is being self-aware of how much different you are and learning to work with people given where they are.
Yes.
And part of it can also involve some really sensitive issues like LGBTQ issues, where when you live in Maju, many of us often have more progressive views. Then you come back home, people are more conservative. And so when you come back and you don't recognize that difference, we may end up being disrespectful in our conversations without being skillful while talking to people. So the perception is true. The other reality part is also true, but I think a lot of it is just us learning to manage those differences.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what do you do when villagers or people around, you know, start questioning what's his source of wealth? You know, there are people who might say, you know, this is Illuminati.
Illuminati. Yes. I hear Illuminati a lot. I always just jokingly tell them, let me find the form so I can give you.
You sign.
Let's just all fill it in. And so we can all, let's just all fill it. Because if this Illuminati works, I don't know.
Let's all benefit.
Let's all sign up and see what happens. You just let it slide. Because again, culturally in the village, superstition is still very strong. Or even when somebody gets injured at your site, next thing you know, they're using this person to make money and things like that. That was an intentional accident.
Yes.
Wantakum
sacrifice.
Yes. You're using him to do. So superstition and just the mindset that a few folks in the village have can make life difficult.
Yes.
And beyond just construction, I told you earlier that one of the things that we do is looking for ways to give back. I remember a few years ago, right before COVID, we started a project with my family here, supporting little kids. So what we did, we bought books, and then we decided that during holidays, we pay a few primary school teachers to come and tutor kids around here. And so we got about maybe 5 teachers, and each teacher was just getting about 200 shillings per day, which is not like a bank-breaking amount. So the first couple of weeks, it was amazing. Kids would come because we have these little Simbas around that are not being used. Kids would come. In the morning, they work with their parents. Afternoon, they come and they get tuition. And so it was amazing. And then we realized the 3rd, 4th week, the numbers started dropping. And we were wondering what's going on. So only to realize that there's rumors going around that these people are using Mzungu money, using us to get money from Wazungu. So somebody would rather keep the child at home because they're being used, quote unquote. And so one of the biggest challenges we have as returnees is also finding ways to work with the mindset that is at home. Because a lot of people don't believe that you can simply volunteer whatever little you have to simply get the kids to a different place.
Especially when you're setting your home in a village.
Yes.
It can be hard.
Exactly, because what you don't want, if at all possible, to be the only one who has made it through. You absolutely don't want that. In fact, a friend of mine who lives right across the river here says that, when we are all rich, if there's thieves stealing, that's actually wonderful because today they steal in my home, then they go to I get a break as they deal with others. But when you're the only one who has something,
you become an easy target. You don't miss Nairobi life, city life?
No, not at all. Funny enough, I have never lived in Nairobi. Nairobi is one place that I would simply come in and do what I need to do. In fact, I know very few places in Nairobi. I tell my sisters that I hope there's this green building in Nairobi, in the middle of the city. I think, is it?
Afia Center.
Yes. I told her, please don't change the color. Don't change the color because you'll mess me up. That's one of the places I get my bearings from to figure out where I'm headed.
Afia Center. Yes. Now we have archives.
Okay.
Yes.
Whatever it is, don't change the color of that building. So Yes. And Nairobi is not my thing because again, one of the main differences you notice between Kisumu and Nairobi is that Kisumu, anywhere you go, you can use your phone anyhow, anywhere. Your antennas are not up. But when I'm with my siblings in Nairobi, when we get someplace like, okay, now can you pull up the window? Please bring your hand in. Like you're always on the ground. And not that Nairobi is necessarily bad. It's just a big city vibe. Even if you go to Los Angeles, you'll get
big city vibe.
It's big city vibe, similar problems.
Yes.
This is not unique to Nairobi. But down here in Kisumu, I could be walking anytime with my phone on. There are things I don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And so in Karating, we are only about 20 minutes from Kisumu CBD, 15 minutes from the airport. So I still get the entire village vibe. But if I need something city related,
you can go.
A short drive, I get what I need, and then I'm back.
Yes.
But no, I don't miss. I have enough of big city vibes in diaspora.
Yeah. You don't miss it.
No,
at all.
Not at all.
Man, I want to wind up. This has been really amazing.
Yes.
But to someone that is watching you and maybe they would want to hear some words of encouragement from you, and they are asking, Lynn has been mentioned in this channel also.
Yes.
Could you also tell them a bit about your channel? Because I want my people to come and show you some love,
thank you.
so you see how we do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, my people are amazing, I just want them to come, and because I feel like what you are doing is very informative, and I feel like a lot of people could benefit from your work, right?
Yes.
So anyone that would use some words of encouragement, look in there, what would you tell them? And also tell us what your channel is about and the name, and also to ask them to come. And,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. So if you look me up on YouTube, I go by Wonodede. Like I said, those who don't know my language, that simply means Babodede.
Babodede.
Yes. And I talk about all kinds of things related to people returning either from the city or from the village, returning from the city to the village or from diaspora to the village.
Yeah.
And some of it are just viewer comments. People post, can we talk about this? I talk about issues of construction, especially in the village. Because construction in the village and the city can be two different things. And all I share is my experiences and my friends' experiences. So for those of you who find it interesting, I hope you show up and see what we do over there. For the most part, that's what we do.
Okay.
Now, in terms of encouragement, all I'd say is that when I reflect on my own experience, coming from a grass-thatched house in the village to Oyugis, where we lived in a formal rental house, to where we are, God has put amazing people in my life. When I look through my journey all the way now back to the village, it's been amazing people. And so what that means to me is that I know that every day when I walk out, God is going to put amazing people in my life too.
Yes.
And when I meet them, I think about what can I do to give back. Especially people who will never repay me. Possibly by just what I see. Because I have benefited from the grace that people have shown me.
Yes.
And so when God puts people in your path, accept that and then do the best you can to the people who are less likely to do something for you. Yeah.
Good.
And
Tenda wema,
yes.
nenda zako.
Yes.
Tenda wema, nenda zako.
They say that even though socially we have like an informal contract, like when you give something, you expect people to respond. It doesn't always happen.
Yes.
Do the best you can and move on.
Yeah,
but eventually life works out. Yes.
It works out.
Yes.
Imagine eventually it works out.
Eventually, it may take a while.
But
eventually it works out.
It works out.
Yes.
A lot of patience also I can see from you.
Yes.
I mean, you have been able to just do this in 5 years.
Yes.
I think the impatient version of most of us would want this done in 6 months. You know? But sometimes it takes courage to know I can't do this in a month or two. And 5 years is still okay. Eventually we get there. But thank you so much for inviting us into your beautiful home.
Absolutely.
Once again, you have a beautiful home, you have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
And it's been an honor to catch up with you before you go. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are thinking about coming back home will really benefit from this conversation.
I hope so.
And if there's anything we've left, as I said, guys, he's covering this extensively in his own channel, which we are going to put on the comment section. Go check him out because I feel like he has specific information that can really benefit anyone that's willing, that wants to return back home. But I feel good to see people embracing village life. It's beautiful. The city is tiring. Mimi hata Nairobi imenichokesha. I'm like, si muniache nikae hapa nyuma kidogo.
Oh, right now, I mean, the rent is very cheap. So just, we'll put you somewhere.
Ni watu wa majumpe yangi mtu kitu hata for.
Just come.
Okay.
You'll pay. I hear you're a good cook.
Yeah, me?
Oh, they're lying to me.
Oh, no, they can't lie.
Okay.
I'm a good chef.
Okay.
I'm a good chef.
Okay.
Me, I'll cook for everybody. Yeah.
That is the form of payment we take in the
That
village.
is the one in kindness.
Yes, if you can cook,
Yes,
we are good.
We are good.
Yeah.
But shukran sana. And to you guys who are watching back at home, you know how we do it on the platform, on the comment section, you get to tell me what your take home is. But msiende bado, because as I said, I'm bringing one of our partners, Kings Developers Limited, to be able to talk to us about their properties and also tell us how are they catering for people. Now, what do they have for you guys? So msiende, kaeni hapo, narudi. Sawa sawa. All right, guys, welcome back. And as I promised you at the beginning of this episode, I would bring one of our beautiful friends from Kings Developers Limited, Sheila, so that she can be able to tell us what have they been up to. It's been an amazing year doing this with Kings Developers. You guys, you've seen the apartments. I love that you're asking about them. I love that you are purchasing. And today, I just want her to be able to give us a few tips. Na pia tuambie wamefika wapi kama Kings. Sheila, how are you?
Hi, Lynn.
How are you feeling?
Very well.
Happy New Year.
By the way.
No.
Hatujaonana for a while.
Hatujaonana, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's last year.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's been a while.
It's actually a happy new year, by the way. Tulimonana last year October.
Yeah.
Tukiwa Ruiru.
Nice.
Tukishutuko.
In Ruiru.
Sasa nimewaleta huku. Huku ni Apollo Kileleshwa.
This is Kileleshwa for real.
Karibuni tu Kileleshwa.
I love this place. I love it. But I'll get into the details. Anyone that is tuning in for the very first time and they've not seen this face, could you tell them who you are and what you do?
Hi, my name is Sheila. I work for Kings Developers. I'm at the marketing side. My job is to ensure that the LNN family knows more about us each and every day. But above and beyond, sisi tunajenga manyumba huku Nairobi.
Nairobi?
Yes.
I love this place, as I was saying. Maybe if you could tell us a bit about this place and also any progress since we last caught up.
Yeah, so welcome again to Kings Apollo Suites in Kileleshwa. Yeah. This is a twin tower project. There are 66 houses in total, 3 bedrooms with an SQ, fully furnished apartments. Yeah. It's 2,600 square foot. So this is a very large house. Hapa mtu akiwa master bedroom to the kitchen, kama mnaweza anza kutumia na kupiga na masimu like hi uko wapi.
Yes.
It's one of the it's one of the biggest houses here in Kileleshwa. And the amenities, first of all, are to die for, by the way, here. It's one of the apartments here in Nairobi that has a jogging track around it.
A what?
A jogging track.
Oh,
so you don't have to go to another park to keep fit.
Oh.
It's surrounding here.
Okay.
And then it has an amphitheater. There's a sauna. There's a gym. There's a children's play area. There's a business lounge.
Yes.
There's community hall. There's ample parking. And of course, we have to give you lifts. We cannot give you all this.
Yeah.
Then now minus the tiny details.
Yes. It's so beautiful. I have loved everything about this place. It's very spacious. I mean, as you've said, me walking from the master bedroom all the way to the SQ, all the way to the guest bedroom, the kitchen, it's wide. How much are we talking about here?
So this house goes for only 30 million Kenyan shillings.
Only?
Only 30 million Kenyan shillings.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that you don't have to give us the lump sum of 30 million. You just do a 20% deposit, which is around 6 million. And then whatever remains, we give you until next year, July, to complete these payments. So for only 2 million Kenyan shillings, you can be able to give us a monthly installment mpaka next year.
Oh, so if I give you right now 20% down payment, the rest I can clear monthly.
Yeah, clear monthly.
I can give you 2 million, 2 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that we give you, sometimes it looks as if it's a lot, but then we try to, unajua haba na haba ujaza kibaba. So tunakupatia tu muda umalize kulipa na sisi.
All right.
Yes.
And one of the things that surprised me, man, it caught me off guard. I'm like, they come furnished.
Yes, they come furnished because we're selling to you a lifestyle, but at the same time, and the good thing about it is that you get a house that is unique. The furniture is unique. So we are trying to improve. Actually, the tagline for this house is upgrade to where you truly belong. So this Apollo Suites, we are upgrading you to where you truly belong. And it's not a joke.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for maybe people who are watching in diaspora, because as we had said in the episode everyone just watched, we can see a lot of them relocating. What incentive do you have for anyone relocating? Do you walk them through the journey? Do you try to tell them, I think this would fit your needs? What's the incentive
The
here?
incentive, actually, first thing about Kings Developers is that we have a team, a dedicated team of property advisors who guide you. I've always told people, once we take you up as a client, we don't want to take your money just because. We want you to be very well informed. Our team will guide you and advise you. You're relocating back here. First of all, even to just settle down first, it's a task. So we tell you, what are you looking for? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Do you want to purchase a house for investments? Do you want to purchase a house to live in? Do you want a short-term thing, a long-term thing? What are the ROIs you're looking at? And the good thing about us is we have over 40 houses built, over 40 projects built, and over 8,000 houses built.
Wow.
So there is a vast wealth of real estate things we can tell you. So we'll guide you and advise you. Like this house in Kilelesho, it's very good for you if you're moving back because you're trying to settle down. You don't want to be too far away from the city. You don't want to be very far away from the city at the same time, because it's 5 minutes away from Lavington. We are 10 minutes away from Westlands. CBD is just a stone's throw away here.
2 seconds to a shopping center here.
And the views here are amazing. So we are trying to give you best of both worlds, from where you came from, the diaspora, to here, to settle down. First of all, you can purchase this house for investments. The return is amazing because we're looking at rent of around 280,000 here. And you can still raise your family. If you're coming back with your family, this house is big enough for you, even for a house of how many? A family of how many? Even 6 people, together with the servants' quarters, which can also be like your office. So we guide you and advise you. By the time you're settling down here, you know Kings hawakukugonga, walikupatia the real deal.
And it's nice you've brought kugongwa, because as my guest said, one of the fears with many people who want to build or purchase, it's the conning game in between. How do you assure your people that if I give you my 30 million is not kidogo money? If I am like, how do I know I'm safe?
One thing we tell up, you can go and do a search on any of our properties. It will assure you, and it will give you the peace of mind that you require. Then secondly, I've always said our portfolio speaks for ourselves. This is not just a house we have manufactured and said, in year 2, but we have been able to build a community of purchasers who believe in us. One thing about our clients is that they tell their friends, kujeni mununue from Kings. We knew about Kings. Kujeni mununue about Kings, because our friends, you can go and ask anyone who has purchased a house from us, how are they? And they'll tell you, sisi what nasema, just go and ask wherever. It's been a learning curve, of course, but we say our portfolio speaks for ourselves, and the payment plans are good. And real estate has its own risks, but I can guarantee you, because we are still at the Prism Tower, it's a building that is very hard to miss. Because
they cannot, I always tell them they can come to your building.
It's very hard to miss. So ukienda kusema natafuta wenye hiyo building, ni sisi tu. So we can't hide from you.
Okay.
Yes.
And I love that Apollo is upper end. Also, I know not everyone can be able to afford that million, but we just passed by Vintage. So maybe a reminder, could you tell people what, different levels you have? So if anyone doesn't have that mic, they also know what else can I get with Kings Developers.
So the good thing you had asked about how we handle our clients is that also we cater to each market. You've said not everybody can have 30 million, but if you don't want 30 million, how much do you have? You have 19? We have that for you. Actually, along Lenana Road, this is a 3-bed at 19.5, 20% deposit, and we give you till next year, December, to complete the payments. We've passed by Vintage. That's a 2-bedroom at 9.5 million, 20% deposit, and then we give you till next year, July, to complete the payments. And the good thing about it is that we started this project last year in Jan. And we've already structured Shamaliza. Currently, we're working on the finishing, and you've been able to see. And if you're not able with the 9.5, now we have affordable houses that are below 5 million. We have in Ongatarongai, we have in Thika, we have in Ruiru, we have in Nakuru. So you're able to, even for as low as 1 million, you can get a house with us. And the one thing about it is that the quality of the houses still remains remains the same. Whether you are here in Apollo or whether you're buying a house for 1 million, our tiles, our finishing,
you're guaranteed of the amenity. You're guaranteed of a good finishing.
A good finishing. You will not feel shortchanged with us. Yes.
Let's talk about the door. I think for me it's the X factor in this place. What are we trying to do with Kings here? Because at I furnishing, I really love it.
Thank you.
And I love the tag. You said it.
Upgrade to where you truly belong.
I see you've upgraded the doors. So that's really nice. But talk to me about the door.
It's a 1 in a million kind of a door. It's one door is like 100,000.
Yes.
So we are trying to give you, tukisema tunakuprotect na tunakupatia something amazing. Best believe it's something amazing. Tafuta tu. Hakuna utapata. It's the only one.
No, I said I talked about it because it's an X factor.
It is.
Yes.
By the time you're stepping in, we want you to feel like, wow, this is
good. It's beautiful.
This is nice.
I promise this is not even part of the ad, but the door really captured my attention. I was like,
tu. Ulipatana na clock room vizuri, hapo watu wanaachana na kama ni viatu, koti, kila kitu. Unaacha hapo ndio ukiingia. This is a sanctuary and you've been able to just tour the house around. Umeona the jacuzzi.
Yes.
Let's
talk about the bathrooms. They are amazing. I saw the jacuzzi.
We wanted a sanctuary for you. Like when we say we are upgrading you to where you truly belong, what do you want, Lynn, after you leave? Once you're done shooting here, you want to go down and relax and be like, this is your zone. So we've created a zone for you inside your master.
All right.
Even if you come to your living room, this is still your zone. We're creating a nini. And this is just, we've created this space for you, but there's so much you can do with your space. We've just shown you how, this is how you can do it, but you can play around with it. We've given you, as in this is a blank space.
You can
paint
decide
it the way
what you want.
Yes.
When we talk about fully furnished, are we talking about the curtains and the shears also?
Are
we getting this?
These ones you won't get, not exactly, but we'll work case by case with a client.
Okay.
If you like something that we have, we can be able to consider it during your purchase process. Because I understand clients have very different tastes. So labda mtu amebambika na hizi, lakini we kama hautaki, we can be able to say...
I love that. So they have the freedom of choice. All right. Our audience would love, I know you have a beautiful event coming up. Would you like to talk to our people about it and what they can expect?
So yes, we have an event this month.
Yes.
Not coming, this month. 25th to 27th of October, we'll be in Thika. We're opening our doors to the audience right now for the very first time. We started this project in January and we've been able to build until I think 8th floor right now. There are 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. When I said you can be able to own a house for 1 million, that's where the place is, in Thika, Kings Orchid. So come with your kids, come with your family members. There'll be lots of fun and games for you and your children. Like you're bored, you come and we will have some fun and games for you, as we actually have real estate discussions because there's so much to discuss. There's sectional titles to discuss. People are not sure if you're owning a house, what next? We can be able to tell you, okay, sectional titles are here because our Kings, the Rongai project, King Serenity, we've actually produced the sectional titles. So this is our first. This is a new thing. Come and discover how to go about it. Come and own a house. The time to own a house is actually yesterday.
It's yesterday.
Kama ujaanza na sisi, so tupatane huko and we'll meet whatever question you have. Our dedicated team of chef's kiss. They're the best. They'll be able to assist you.
So umesema Orchid ni 1 million.
1 million.
Nyumba ni 1 M.
Nyumba ni 1 M.
1 bedroom.
Hiyo ni studio, but 1 bedroom ni 1.5.
Oh, so studio 1. That's nice. Alafu 1 bedroom 1.5.
Yes.
Also you can pay na installment.
Yeah, there's an installments plan depending on the house that you're purchasing.
Okay.
We can be able to tell you, natuambia how much, what are you looking at? I've always said before tukosane, tuseme we can't do this, imekuwa by the way, we can't. Come on, let's discuss this.
All right.
Yes.
We're almost winding up the year. Anyone that is looking to invest, couples who want to maybe, come together and buy an asset, anyone that is dreaming of owning a home, what parting shot do you have for them?
What I can tell anybody who wants to own a house, start today. You might get scared because there's always this thing when you have a dream, there's always the naysayers. People say don't do it. Oh, people have collapsed. But It's like a plane taking off, but we get to see so many that land, but when one ikianguka ndio people we talk bad, but it's always a good experience. Yeah, there's no deadline to a dreamer. And the same way there's no deadline to a vision that you have. You want to buy a house right now, even if you felt cheated 5 years ago, there will always be good people in the market.
Try now.
Yeah, try now.
Yeah.
Do not be discouraged by naysayers. When you have a dream or to do something, you don't listen to other people. You focus on what you want to achieve. So the time to own a house is now. Come to our offices, we'll discuss and we'll guide you. Not everybody is bad, by the way. There are good people in this industry. And so when you walk to us and you tell us you want to own a house, we'll guide you. So don't be discouraged. Own a home right now, even if you have you want to build your dream mansionette of 10 bedrooms and everything else, you don't know how to get started, we can actually guide you. You can be able to purchase a house that will help you earn a passive income, and then you can be able to own your dream home. So we are maybe a step away from your dream house, by the way. This might be a dream house, but maybe you have others. So on now, don't listen to naysayers.